All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. I thought it's a great idea to give a talk, and uh, I felt that I was capable of giving this talk, even though I'm a bit nasally. But it's an important episode, and I will explain why. Okay. Sorry, guys. I keep muting this to be able to cough. But anyways, I'm gonna dive into it. We'll see what the viewers are destined to hear. So first of all, I had an intention behind this episode. Okay. So out of curiosity, I was wondering about all the ways that reality can be possible from metaphysical angles. You see, at first in this life, you're interested by knowledge. Knowledge intrigues you. Knowledge pulls you towards it as if it knows something you don't, or there is something to know, or there is something that is known which you don't know. But at some point, the mind begins to fathom, just like the example of how many ways are there to kick a soccer ball. How many ways are there to kick a soccer ball? So similarly, we find ourselves in a moment where there is a multiplicity of possibilities to how we storify reality. Okay, how do we put all that is happening to us as us instantaneously into a story? Like this is the great challenge of the human mind. How does it fit the cosmos within a model of meaning? Pretty much, I went on ChatGPT and I found a list of metaphysical possibilities. And prior to AI starting from 2014, I have cultivated and designed my own metaphysical views on reality. So, what I'm reading for you is more like being someone who stepped out of his own worldview to see these other worldviews and then to come and share them online, right? And keep in mind that there is always an intention behind speech. Communication is a form of an inner world releasing itself into the outer world. When I'm speaking to you, I'm not saying, yo, my voice is absolute, so people feel angry. I'm pretty much saying, hey guys, I'm this human being on earth. I'm trying to figure out how many ways there are to look at something. But we find ourselves in a situation where there are infinite viewpoints. So what do you choose out of infinity? So if you went to a restaurant and all you can eat buffet, there were infinite options. Which ones do you choose? Do you So the starting point is very important to consider. And because what we find in life, we consider it to be an effect of an unknown cause, human beings are each trying to know the cause. Right. What that means is what is the cause? What is the how does consciousness have a relationship with its causal position? Because it's like before I give this talk, there is like it's kind of strange. It's like my new idea is the effect from another cause. Anyways, guys, tonight's episode is very interesting and very unique, and let me tell you why. Because I think I've found a list of maybe around you know under 20 different ways, pretty much metaphysical possibilities about the nature of the world. Okay, so in this episode, I am pretty much reading for you a list of all the ways we can kind of metaphysically, so far at least, and of course there's infinite views, but like I think I found a mighty and worthy list to communicate. So keep in mind, in this episode, the intention of the speaker is to discover new worlds, kind of like an explorer in the Amazons with a machete, kind of like hitting the winds and finding uncharted territory and then navigating through it, and then in some sense attributing meaning to your own discovery and then reattributing that meaning to what actually is the collective vision of reality. For me, I'm starting off from this view that there is way more unknown stuff going on than known stuff. So it doesn't hurt to see what other sorts of ways, in what other ways reality can be perceived. And when it comes to perception, the difference between perspective and perception has to be made. The difference between perception and perspective is also the same difference that one can find between what is their own view and what is a view. Okay, we have people like Aristotle say something like it's the sign of an educated mind to entertain an idea without accepting it. That means it is the choice of the consciousness to accept format. That's something, at least we have choice. We don't have ultimate choice, but every person right now, and this goes beyond the dimensions of a gender-bound reality, it's pretty much like the act of drinking water is neither male or female. The presence of an expression beyond dualistic judgment or claim. So pretty much, guys, in this episode, I'm going to read something, share my views on it. I'm pretty much going to read like 17 metaphysical worldviews, possibilities about the nature of the world. And then I'm going to comment on it, or just keep reading. Anyways, let's get into it. Think of it this way. This list I'm going to read for you, think of it, you are walking into a museum, and then you step out of this museum, and then people are like, what museum did you go to? You would say, I went to the museum of how far intelligent activity can fathom the possibility, the metaphysical possibilities about the nature of the world. And people are going to be like, Mr. Within, are you talking about metaphysics? Right? Or why are you talking about metaphysics? And the view is because I have no idea if the idea of physics is physical. The idea of something, the subjective representation of reality, which is being treated as the object. Like when I say that's a trash can outside, like that's like me treating the object as the subject, right? Like imagine I go into nature and I see an animal and I name the animal. I'm like, yo, your name is Bubbles, and the lion keeps roaring, you know? And so the idea is that I am entering a reality without understanding what else is in that reality, attributing from my own understanding from before a context to it. Right? So the human mind gets really shocked by the unknown because it familiarizes itself. It's pretty much like just like the heart is beating, I feel there's a sense of panic. It's very cool. It's kind of like the biological organisms like, sure, man, I put on a jacket, I drank a cup of coffee, I relaxed. And then at the same time, you're seeing your heart beating, the cells in your body moving, the intensity of the forces. And what's fascinating is that there is movement inside movement inside movement. What does that mean? That means the red blood cells in your body are moving at a certain speed. Okay, when you walk down the street, you're moving at a certain speed. Your planet is moving at a certain speed, right? The sun is moving at a certain speed. The center of the cosmos could be an infinite turn. So let's get into the list, guys, and at the end of this talk, you're gonna see, like, at least, me and the moment know the work that is being done here. The honor for the advanced must begin from the advanced. So the consideration must be advanced. The attitude I have right now is that the very more advanced being than me would understand everything way better than me. So it's possible. Right now, I can envision a better self to myself. And if I ask myself, why am I being this conceptual self drawn from the present? Or should I be the self from the future? Or should I be a very multidimensional entity, and to consider that the past, present, and future are each their own parallel realities? So there's a timeless past, there's a timeless present, and there's a timeless future. It's not all just a simulation in the present, right? The New Age community did something fascinating. It rediscovered the ancient world in a new age, but it forgot that the new age is looking ahead. The captain of the ship is not looking inside the ship. So really what it is that your soul is way ahead of your mind, and your mind is way ahead of your body. So to your body's life, your mind is your future. To your mind's life, the future is the soul. It is the soul, let's say, the soul's return. Anyways, guys, before I really jump into my own ideas, I'm just going to read this list. creating, so pretty much I asked this AI to create a list of metaphysical possibilities about the nature of reality, like what the world actually is. Here, this is what I wrote. I wrote to on ChatGPT 4, I want you to come up with the best list of metaphysical possibilities of what the world actually is. So first one, material monoism. And guys, I'm going to read this once. Please take notes if you're that kind of person, and I honor you deep down in my heart. Material mono, because guys, the ideas I'm sharing here, they don't belong to one man. I am living as if my greatest work is the greatest service to my civilization's advancement in the void. I have no other honor. You don't believe it. I am a very, it's like I'm a soul, you know, in the presence of an almighty force, and I ask myself, what's the meaning of my life? And in front of my eyes, it's a shaped destiny. Behind my eyes, I am the context to the conceptual meaning. But anyways, let's read these. And guys, before I enter this, I want you, whoever you are, to choose between the number 1 and 2. Okay? Or let's say between A1 and A2. Okay? So whoever you are that's listening, if you could choose between the option of A1 and A2, just choose one of these right now. Okay? If you picked A2, don't join the YouTube channel membership. If you picked A1, join Mr. Within's research lab and help me assemble a team of advanced communicators. Material monoism. This view posits that everything is physical and all phenomena can be reduced to material processes and interactions. It's the foundation for much of modern science, suggesting a purely physicalist understanding of the universe. So material monoist, let's get an image of this in our minds, okay? So who's a material monoist? A material monoist is like, yo man, I'm an object, the world is an object, I have no clue what space is. Space is probably nothing, but it's like if space is nothing, then everything is an object, right? So if we have this approach that it's just stuff, then this is the parallel universe, right? So what I'm reading for you are potential parallel universes, okay guys? So I'm saying imagine in one parallel universe, material monoism universe, right? In this universe, everything is an object. You know, everything is purely a material process and chemical interactions and physical constraints. Next, we go to another parallel universe, the parallel universe of idealistic monoism. Contrary to materialism, idealism proposes that reality is fundamentally mental or spiritual. This view holds that everything is an aspect of mind or consciousness, with physical reality being either secondary or a manifestation of the mind. So in the first, let's say for example's sake, this whole list is an example of what possibilities, metaphysical possibilities. This is a really exciting episode. I feel like I'm gonna learn a lot too here. And that's the power of art. Novelty deserves a voice. So in the material monoist universe, everything's just matter is the focus point. In idealistic monoism, the meaning is really, I think, being focused on. So what's opposite to matter is meaning. Like our brains inject meaning into matter. So idealistic monoist, like who would be an idealistic monoist? Pretty much the idea that physical reality is secondary or a manifestation of the mind. So anybody who considers life to be a simulation is kind of like an idealistic monoist. Anyways, we move on to the third. Dualism. So we step out of those two. Anyways, I'm not gonna keep backtracking. We step into the next parallel universe, a universe called dualism. This perspective, famously articulated by Descartes, argues that there are two fundamental kinds of substance that make up the world: mental and physical, or mind and matter. So someone who's entered a dualistic universe, it's as if being having your foot into between. It's like going into a portal with your shoulders until the midpoint of your forehead. Yeah. So right now we human beings are in a dualistic reality. Somebody's like, what does that mean? That means in a reality where objects exist and objects being subjects is experienced. So there's an object-subject duality, right? Descartes is famous for the mind-body duality, that the mind is like belongs to another dimension, or is a presence of another dimension. But duality means two. So anytime you hear dualism, just think of inside the yin yang symbol. Monoism is like an idea on the whole circle. So the next thing is we go to Platonic realism. So we step out of a dualistic universe, and all those people meditating in non-duality, you have no idea what beyond non-duality is. The unknown, there is an authority to the unknown that surpasses man's conception of divinity. From the dualistic parallel universe, we step out and we go to another parallel universe of a metaphysical possibility. We go into Platonic realism. Based on Plato's theory of forms, this view suggests that non-material abstract forms or ideas, and not the material world, represents the most accurate reality. So Plato and Descartes would get along. When he says non-material abstract forms or ideas and not the material world represent the most accurate reality, he's pretty much saying it's the mind is in the room first. Okay? In Descartes' dualism, it's something similar. He's saying, just notice that there's two. So next we move on to another parallel universe called the simulation hypothesis. This modern idea posits that what we perceive as reality is actually an artificial simulation, akin to a highly advanced computer program. Simulation hypothesis is very straight to the point, just like when you play a video game, right? A multiplayer online video game, you find yourself in a digital world, right? And your character, instead of being made of the periodic table, is made of pixels. And your character inside the video game has no clue that it has a soul, and you who are playing the video game from your computer are kind of like the soul of that character inside that digital world. If that character engages into materialism, it will identify it's like me. So this would be Mr. Within's argument why materialism is flawed. My argument would simply be this, that if I write a novel, a fiction novel, and in that fiction novel there's a character, and that character suddenly realizes that there was an author that was in a non-fiction realm, so there would be no way we can use what's in the world to know what has created the world. Why? Because unless it's a revelation, unless it comes from the stars, it comes from the beyond, not the stars, from beyond, from uh, from um, from truth's source. So, anyways, simulation hypothesis. Yo, what if all of this is not real? It's a simulation. Just like a video game character, after the video game is finished, you log out. We go to sleep. Okay, when we go to sleep, we log out of our psychology and personality. So every human being right now, once you go meditate and sit in silence, you will soon realize we're all existing beyond our psychologies. So when I'm sleeping, and if there were a bunch of people analyzing, all right, this guy, had a personality when he was awake, he's asleep, right? And so when he's asleep, is he his personality or not? Do you see what I'm saying? So simulation hypothesis. Anyways, that's that. I think that's many people are familiar with that. Idealism dash physicalism synthesis. A hybrid view that attempts to reconcile idealism and physicalism, suggesting that physical reality is a manifestation or expression of an underlying non-physical consciousness or mind. This is a very sophisticated way of saying a spiritual person. So next time if they ask you, are you spiritual? Say, no, I'm idealism dash physicalism synthesizer. That means you are uniting two realities at once. That acts as a realm of its own. This is fascinating. So I read panpsychism. Oh, sorry, maybe I didn't read it. Oh, no, the chat GPT messed it up, so let me see. Okay, there we go. Panpsychism is a philosophical view that suggests that consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe. According to panpsychism, consciousness is not just limited to humans or animals with sophisticated brains, but is an inherent attribute of all matter. This means that every single particle and every part of matter, however small, has some form of consciousness or subjective experience. This philosophy differs significantly from traditional views of consciousness. Which often associate consciousness with complexity in the brain or with certain types of organisms. In panpsychism, even the simplest entities, such as electrons or quarks, possess some form of consciousness. This doesn't mean they have thoughts or feelings like humans, but rather that there is some subjective aspect to their existence. I don't know, guys, why when I was reading this right now, the image of a bridge of souls or a ladder of souls occurred to me. So what that means is when you look at every organism in a panpsychist universe, you're like, yo, this brick on this wall of this building is conscious right now. I need to be conscious, as much as everything is conscious. In a conscious reality, it can't be a physical reality anymore. So panpsychists are not physical entities. They're pretty much saying, yo, man, I'm the essence of the essence. People are like, yo, you can't go any deeper than that. So next, we go to the guys. This is such a big list, but anyways, panentheism, unlike pantheism, which states that everything is God. Panentheism posits that the universe is a part of God, but God is more than the universe. This perspective maintains a distinction between the divine and the cosmos while asserting their interconnectedness. So, guys, I'm a I can't even pronounce it. I'm a panentheism theist, right? What does that mean? That means that's my view. That there is an authority, an original source authority that surpasses the human mind. It doesn't mean the human mind is not accessible in its presence. Do you see what I'm saying? So for me, truth surpassed geometry, so it could not be a concept. So what is truth? It is own truth's own work. So this, anyways, it says this. So back to pantheism. I don't know how to say it. It says this perspective maintains a distinction between the divine and the cosmos while asserting their interconnectedness. We walk into the next parallel reality, or a parallel universe of a metaphysical possibility. Modal realism, popularized by philosopher David Lewis. This theory posits that all possible worlds are as real as the actual world in which we live. It treats hypothetical statements about what could have happened as referring to concrete realities in alternate worlds. So guys, if David Lewis was right here, this modal realist, he would literally hear my lecture and he'll be like, these are all possible worlds. Someone in the guys, my attention's come to the chat section, so I'm going to take a break, and as I sip my coffee, read this. Somebody in the chat section says everything is good, God is infinity dash unity. Sorry, bracket. Anyways, line unity. Do you believe in a supreme being? Yes. But I believe in the Supreme Being through the sentence that all praise is due to the Lord of the worlds. So, in my human effort to try to reach the greatness that my mind can fathom, me as a specific individual suddenly got a wake up call. And I began to realize this whole life I've thought I've been thinking about my own greatness, but it's actually been an act of self-worship. So when I realized that the biological survival is a narcissistic approach, but also an act of self-worship, right? But also psychological self-storytelling in the sense of like, yo, asking yourself, who am I every day? At some point you wonder about, yo, the dimensions are vast. Right? So at some point in my life, I felt that there was something so beyond me that this world was not of my work. Because I am familiar with my creative ability, if I was to design a civilization, I would not design it like this. So what has intended this civilization to exist is something that is so supreme that it's allowed the possibility. Like right now, I'm a biological organism with ears and a mouth, right? And eyes, and I'm speaking, right? And you have the same design and you're hearing, right? Like take that in, right? We're just like shooting communication into cyberspace, and somebody in another part of the world's like, yo, I heard that. So somebody in the chat section says, do you believe in a supreme being? In my attempt of finding my own fame, I came to this realization that I am not the main point of life. So then life was rendered as an act of service. So for me as a being, the way I find my own existence is that I am at some point when the idea of yourself is not just an idea, memory, image, shape, or form, you get to feel for an instance where all phenomena in your awareness is basking, right? And then once you see intelligent activity, any sort of intelligent activity you have in whatever sort of state of consciousness, you come to this realization that there is something beyond you, and you become humbled by it, and then you realize what really being serious about life means. It means the eagle that thought the branch was the whole cosmos flies into the forest and notices, it flies into the sky and notices the whole forest. So I believe in an original source, and I believe we are in the sight of the greatness that has created the possibility of our greatness. So for me, God was not an idea that countered the advanced civilization. To me, the idea of an advanced civilization was the idea, you know, there is presences beyond my mind. So when I realize there's something more than my mind, the idea, it's like we went from object worship to subject worship to then people worship, right? And then people were like, yo, if we shouldn't worship any of these, what should we worship? So they started self-worship. So in the depths of a culture that's like promoting self-worship, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, rather than being like, we will build the most advanced civilization. Do you know when there's, in many of my talks, I've said that in the future, the songs of the advanced civilization would be heard. That means suddenly a species begins to wake up, or begins to notice, wait a minute, this whole time there has been a sleeping giant, considered as the dormant potential of the greatness of a species, organized with a clarity ambitious beyond the stars. Do you see, it's like an advanced civilization is like an advanced being would be advanced in all states of being. If somebody says, does an advanced being have karma? An advanced being has access to, imagine a spectrum of perception, but in accordance to its own alignment, based on what it considers to be true. Because religion, if somebody tells me, hey, Mr. Within, who do you think religion is for? I would say it's for those people that have noticed the presence of a force that is more than what the world has displayed so far. So the greatness of divinity's truth is the greatness. Like, think of it this way: if the greatest power created you, then you must also have the greatest expression. That means the potential of the greatest. The idea of God and a supreme being is the idea of, like, yo, how should we fill out the container of what is the greatest archetype, greatest archetype or pointer, right? A supreme being suggests that it's a supreme reality from the beginning. Fear dismantles with the realization of a greater presence in the beyond the room of one's own mind. So, anyways, back to this long list of parallel universes of ways of looking at life, I guess. Anyways. So a modal realist is pretty much believing in all the mods to reality, all the ways reality can be modified, let's say. Then we go to the next parallel universe, subjective idealism. So when I say parallel universe, imagine a whole world based on this idea. This philosophical view, advanced by George Berkeley, argues that only minds and mental contents exist. According to this view, an external world does not exist outside of perceptions. Right. So he's pretty much saying, yo, I have an external world and I'm perceiving this. Who is perceiving this? That who is not a physical form, because it has to include the whole moment. The whole moment is experiencing something beyond form. So the consideration of the whole moment's value is like, it surpasses the individual perception, right? So subjective idealism, according to this view, an external world, in quotations, does not exist outside of perceptions. We go to the next parallel universe, the next neighboring parallel universe, phenomenalism. And guys, some people consider phenomenalism a phenomenal, philosophy. Phenomenalism. A perspective that suggests physical objects do not exist as things in themselves, but only as perceptual phenomena or bundles of sense data within the mind. Bundles of sense data within the mind. Can you imagine a child being like, yo, parents, what am I? A young child, and the parents are like, son, it's like, what you really are is a bundle of sense data within your mind, and the child's like, oh my God, Guys, what I'm reading for you is perspectives here. So this episode, you got to be like an eagle in the whole forest. You don't have to just sit on one branch. You have to understand the vastness of the world that has been created. It's as if it's like somebody was like, yo man, museum tickets are so expensive, and the guy's friend's like, yo man, walk in nature. It's like, that's a museum of this time, instead of the past or the future. We totally should have futurist museums. There should be a sci-fi day, there should be a global sci-fi day, where everybody has to it's called like Global Future Day. Right, everybody has to dress as futuristically as possible. Imagine in the educational system. It's just, to honor the vision of a technologically aligned realm to nature. So phenomenalism is pretty much saying that physicality is a perceptual phenomenon. So next thing is we walk to the next parallel universe, relationalism. This view, related to quantum physics and certain interpretations of space and time, suggests that the properties of objects are not intrinsic, but rather emerge from their relationships or interactions with other objects. Sorry, guys, my attention drifted elsewhere. Relationalism, let me go over this again. So, this is related to quantum physics and certain interpretations of space and time. Suggests that the properties of objects are not intrinsic, but rather emerge from their relationships or interactions with other objects. Right, right. So, but this would mean it's dualist or beyond. So the relationalism is kind of saying like, yo, it's like Purusha Prakriti. There's a codependence. It's like the yin yang symbol. They cannot exist without one another. So the relationships, that it's like the lines that connect the dots are like the dots, as meaningful as are like the dots meaning. Next parallel universe. Structural realism. In the philosophy of science, that's such a fascinating sentence. In the philosophy of science, this position argues that while we may not be able to know the nature of fundamental entities, we can know the structure of the relations they bear to each other. Yeah, yeah. So structural realism, guys, is literally what we're left with. Like a scientist is like, yo, man, I can't know certain deep things about nature because we don't have that technology yet. So what can I know? So the person's like, let me look at the structure of reality. And what is the relationship of me, for example, being an organism and having structure, living in a world and moving in a world where I'm constantly updating my structure of perception, right? And on some level, being at some point like, okay, why is existence existing so that I exist to exist? Like why is that? Why is that? Why does the cosmos have such a shape in the attention that is the presence I'm in? you know. Next metaphysical possibility, neo-scholasticism. Reviving principles from medieval scholasticism, this view emphasizes the compatibility of faith and reason and asserts the existence of a rational order to the universe that is inherently tied to its divine creation. So, guys, this would be also like Lao Tzu in China being like, yo, the Tao that can be spoken about is not the real Tao, suggesting that there's something deeper moving everything. I mean, the I Ching is deeper than what I can say about it right now. So for a structure realist, they're like, yo, man, I'm in a reality. What is like noticing its structure is the starting point. Sorry, I don't know why I went back to structural realism. Neo-scholasticism, reviving, yeah. So, yeah, Taoism, yeah, I went over that. Quantum consciousness. Okay, so neo-scholasticism, what else can I say about it? So, faith is something that surpasses reason, and reason is having a sequential understanding, like having understanding the relationship, the structure to how reality occurs, right? So neo-scholastics, they're pretty much like, yo, man, just like Yoda was like, there's the force everywhere, so there's a rational order everywhere, right? And this rational order is tied to, in some sense, a divine creation, right? So, anyways, we go to the next reality, quantum consciousness. A speculative theory that posits consciousness arises from quantum mechanical phenomena, such as entanglement or superposition. suggesting a deep connection between mind and the physical workings of the universe. So let's say there was a realm where we're like everything's quantum consciousness. So it would mean that on a very small level, right, something is occurring that is creating the big level. So it's like the micro is originating the macro, right? So whatever we see in the macro is actually the micro. So quantum consciousness is kind of like um, it's like we're like, yo, there's this when it says consciousness arises from quantum mechanical phenomena. Quantum mechanical phenomena, that's like a world of its own. Do you understand? That's like really like on a very micro level, right? Trying to look at what's going on and what, like in what mechanical ways, in what ways does phenomena function on the quantum level. And we're like, yo, what if it's from that functioning that consciousness arises, right? So it's very deep. That's like everything that would be equivalent to us like suddenly realizing we're a code in a computer program. So quantum consciousness is it's a really a strange parallel reality. So informational ontology. So the next parallel universe we enter is called informational ontology. This modern theory suggests that the universe and everything in it is fundamentally composed of information, with physicality being a secondary manifestation of a primary information structure. Oh yeah, so information ontology. Here, the term ontology derives from two Greek words, ontos, meaning being or existence, and logia, meaning study of or science. Thus, ontology is literally the study of being or existence. So it says this modern theory suggests that the universe and everything in it is fundamentally composed of information. I read that. With physicality being a secondary manifestation of a primary information structure. That primary information structure, I mean, based on this is fascinating. Informational ontology is incredible, actually. Let me tell you why. Because you could see the informational ontology of every school of thought, right? Every system, ideological system that exists has an informational ontology. What does this mean? This means that the whole thing is arising from a simpler pattern. Okay, so it's like a programmer writing code and it turning into a video game, right? So the reality of that video game, if a character in the video game would be like, yo, where am I, it would be in an information structure. This information structure can surpass the human mind, so it can be either considered divine or transcendental of some sort. Then we go to the next parallel reality, cosmic consciousness. A mystical view that suggests the universe is an interconnected web of consciousness, where each part reflects and contains the whole, and consciousness pervades all levels of existence. So we had the panpsychists be like, yo, look at this adorable quark, quarks having consciousness, you know? And then there's some people who are like, yo, there there is the consciousness that even the smallest phenomena have. The value of consciousness is cosmic. So that means a part of how we like our eyes belong to the whole cosmos. That's kind of what it means. Or they are the whole cosmos. Then we go to the next parallel reality, existentialism. This philosophical movement emphasizes individual freedom and choice, positing that the individual is responsible for imbuing their life with meaning in an inherently meaningless universe. Yeah, so you treat the world as a blank canvas and you're like, yo, man, who knew? I'm the author of my own life, right? So, first thing I'm gonna write, you know, a ridiculous amount of abundance entered this individual. Existentialism is saying, yo, you're this entity that has free will. You can choose. That means you have observational ability as well. And the individual is responsible for imbuing their life with meaning in an inherently meaningless universe. That means if you have been living your whole life in a story you have not authored, you have missed out on who you could have been this whole time, right? I was a late bloomer, but many people are not, right? So reality has to have this ability to be like, yo, consciousness has arisen, attention is present in a position. So from this position, what capabilities are at hand? If the individual was to scan their own intelligence and try to see what, why, like it's like trying to be, it's like your consciousness beyond your body is trying to Sherlock Holmes, in a Sherlock Holmes style, try to figure out like why your mind is designed the way it is. So the fascination to know even one's own design is just a mystical approach, really. I mean, more better than mystical, I would say it goes into the realm of beyondism. So we walk to the next parallel reality, animism. In this world, a view often found in many indigenous cultures, suggesting that all things, including animals, plants, rocks, rivers, weather systems, and even words, are animated and alive. Wow. Wow. Animism is kind of like, you know, extreme panpsychism. This means that everything is alive, the whole cosmos is alive. Then we go to the next parallel universe, hylomorphism, originating from Aristotle. This theory proposes that everything is a compound of matter and form. In this view, matter is the potentiality to assume form, while form is the actuality of a thing. Okay, let me read that again. Originating from Aristotle. Yup. This theory proposes that everything is a compound of matter and form. Alright, geometry is the core meaning. In this view, matter is the potentiality to assume form. Yeah, the ability to consider form in the void. And then it says, while form is the actuality of a thing. Right, so that means this is hylomorphism. So, what is physical? What really, like when I touch an object, it's not that the object is real, it's the potential to assume form that's real in that, heliomorphism. Then we go to the next parallel reality, neutral monoism. This philosophy suggests that the mental and the physical are two ways of organizing the same underlying reality, which is itself neutral, neither physical nor mental. Yeah, neutral monoism is kind of a strange world. It would be a strange world where everything is dissolving into its essence or is conscious of its essence. So in a neutral monoist reality, it's as if nothing has to mean anything. It's like the nihilist's perfect dimension. So then we go to digital physics. The hypothesis that the universe is, at its core, describable by information and is computationally based. That is, it is essentially digital and computable. So this means it's similar to being inside a video game. Next parallel reality, objective idealism. A philosophical view that asserts the reality of the ideal, but posits that the existence of an objective and external reality is a manifestation of some transcendental mind or spirit. Yeah, so the so the reality of the ideal, that means it's kind of like when I say in these talks, yo, what kind of civilization does your species deserve? Does it not deserve an advanced civilization? It deserves an advanced civilization, right? So that's kind of me, right, asserting the reality of my ideal, right? But it's like an objective idealist would have that attitude, but also be like, but posits that the existence of an objective and external reality is a manifestation of some transcendental mind or spirit. So it's still being inside a simulation of a greater mind, something like that. Then we go to the next parallel reality, hylozoism. The belief that all matter has life, suggesting that life and matter are not distinct, that even inanimate objects participate in some form of life. That's an incredible view, actually. This is like how novelists are naturally, right? So hylozoism, So shout out to all those hylozoists, that don't know they're hylozoists, Anyways, to continue. Psychophysical parallelism. So this is the next one. A theory that suggests a parallelism between mental and physical events, without asserting a direct causal relation between the mind and the body. Next one, emanationism. Wow. My mind had never considered that word, emanationism. It's like, yo, what do you believe in? I'm an emanationist. It's like, what does that mean? It's like, let me emanate it for you. Emanationism, the belief that all forms of existence emanate from a single source or principle, typically seen as divine or transcendental. So, guys, I'm technically an emanationist as well. Next reality, pandeism, combining aspects of pantheism and deism. It suggests that a creator god became the universe and ceased to exist as a separate and conscious entity. Wow, this blew my mind. So it suggests that a creator god became the universe. So God created the universe, and then this is a pandeist, like from a pandeistic perspective. God created the universe, then it became the universe, and when it became the universe, it stopped existing as something separate, as a separate and conscious entity. Next one, next parallel reality, perspectivism, introduced by Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche. This view holds that all ideations take place from particular perspectives. Let me see, what does he mean by ideations? Probably all possible ideas, right? The formation of ideas or concepts, yeah. So this view holds that all ideations take place from particular perspectives, suggesting that there are many possible conceptual schemes or perspectives in which judgment of truth or value can be made. Yeah, guys, this is perspectivism is kind of saying like, yo, man, everybody has their own perspective. There's so many unknown perspectives. Discovery is trying to like access those perspectives, right? Next one, substance dualism. A form of dualism often associated with Descartes, which posits, and guys, posits means assumes as a fact, put forward as a basis of argument. So it would kind of be like here it says posit, it says postulate, put forward, advance, propound, submit, predicate, hypothesize, take as a hypothesis, set forth, etc. Which posits that mental and physical substances exist independently yet interact with each other. Yeah, that would be kind of like considering a substance dualist is like, yo, man, my mind's in another dimension, my body's in another dimension, and their interaction is like, who's talking to you? You know, so that would be a substance dualist view. Then we go to the next view, which is an incredible, like it's really, okay, anyways, I'll read it. That we enter the parallel universe of eternal recurrence. So, eternal recurrence, the idea that the universe and all existence and energy has been recurring and will continue to recur in a self similar form an infinite number of times across infinite time or space. So, eternal recurrence is kind of like eternity, an eternal expression kind of rippling till the end of time in all dimensions. It would be like the recurrence of an eternal movement, you know? I'll read it again. The idea that the universe and all existence and energy has been recurring and will continue to recur in a self dash similar form an infinite number of times across infinite time or space. So it means eternity. It's eternal recurrence is kind of like infinity, an infinite idea. Eternal is like endless. So eternal recurrence, it's like the endlessness of infinity. So whatever it is that life is, it's been eternally recurring. We go into the next parallel reality, pantheistic solipsism, a less common view that combines solipsism in brackets in brackets only the self is sure to exist. So solipsists believe only the self is sure to exist. A less common view that combines solipsism with pantheism. And pantheism in brackets here, it says the belief that everything composes an all dash encompassing comma immanent God. Immanent, IMMANENT. So this is kind of strange because in a pantheistic solipsist, it's kind of saying like everything is God. Everything is occurring within God. So that's kind of like a pantheist, right? Then we see a solipsist, and the solipsist is like, I don't know about that, man. I'm the only one that exists. So a pantheistic solipsist, it's like the only thing that if to a solipsist, the self is the only thing that exists. So if that solipsist wanted to be a pantheist, it would be as if itself would actually be the existence of the immanent God. Next one, we go into the parallel universe of Buddhist emptiness, sunyata. In Buddhism, the concept of emptiness refers to the idea that all phenomena are empty of intrinsic existence and nature, svabhava, and are instead dependent on other phenomena, pratit yasamutpada. So Buddhist emptiness. So we're like, yo, man, we stepped into Buddha land, and Buddha land was like, yo, man, where are all the rides? And so it was as if that everything is empty before our true nature, before our attention goes. So like this car is not a car until there's an attention to see it to be a car. So the object's nature is empty inherently. So Buddhist emptiness means, yo, you are an entity that is found in a sort of changing world system, and so you do suffer. But when you ask yourself, where does my suffering come from? You come to the realization that before the first conceivable point, reference point on reality, there was emptiness. Just like you need the emptiness of the page to write something new. You know, similarly, you need the emptiness of the world to manifest in it. So it's to be aware that it's like kind of like it's like an actor having the director's awareness of the set, which is a very sophisticated achievement. We go from sunyata to the next parallel reality, cosmic pluralism. The belief in the existence of multiple worlds or universes that are physically distinct from each other, each of which may have different natural laws and physical constants. And so cosmic pluralism, it's saying, yo, there's a plurality, so reality is multidimensional. There's many worlds and universes, and they each look different than ours, right? So just like there's different galaxies that look different than ours, right? Each of which may have different natural laws and physical constants. Yeah, like in a parallel reality, right? Or in some other universe, right? It's like some species is going through the same thing as us, but they have less gravity on their planet, and they're still being ungrateful. You know. Then we go, for example, not for example, we go to the next one, and this seems to be the last one here on the list. Ecosmism. In contrast to pantheism, ecosmism denies the reality of the universe, seeing it as illusory, in brackets Maya in Hindu philosophy, and only the infinite unmanifested Brahman is real. Now, I'm going to copy paste the word Brahman here and ask this AI, explain simply yet deeply what do you mean? What do you mean by Brahman? So it's telling me here So, guys, what I'm gonna read for you is gonna, like, you light up something new in your mind. Brahman is a central concept in Indian philosophy, particularly within the Vedanta school of Hinduism. It's a complex and profound idea, but I'll try to explain it both simply and deeply. This AI is polite. Simply put, Brahman is the ultimate reality or the universal essence in Hinduism. It is not a god, a person, or a thing, but rather the unchanging, infinite, immanent, and transcendent reality that is the divine ground of all matter, energy, time, space, being, and everything beyond in this universe. Brahman is often described as beyond both existence and non existence. Deeply, Brahman is considered to be the source and essence of the material world, but it transcends all descriptions and conceptualizations. It is often described in Hindu scriptures with the phrase, in quotations, neti neti, meaning in quotations, not this, to convey that Brahman cannot be fully captured by any words or ideas. In Advaita Vedanta, one of the major schools of Indian philosophy, Brahman is identical to the deepest self, in brackets Atman, within each person. This perspective holds that the true self of every individual is Brahman itself, and the realization of this identity leads to spiritual liberation, in brackets moksha. Brahman is described as having three key characteristics: Sat, in brackets truth, Chit, in brackets consciousness, and Ananda, in brackets bliss. This implies that the ultimate reality is a state of pure existence, consciousness, and bliss. This concept challenges and expands our understanding of reality, suggesting a profound unity underlying the apparent diversity and complexity of the world. Understanding Brahman is not just an intellectual exercise, it is considered a deeply spiritual experience that transforms one's perception of the self and the universe. So, guys, out of this list, one that really is closest to my personal view at this moment is panentheism. 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 Okay, so this was unlike pantheism, which states that everything is God. Panentheism posits that the universe is a part of God, but God is more than the universe. This perspective maintains a distinction between the divine and the cosmos while asserting their interconnectedness. And guys, this list I'm reading you, it's infinite. Believe it or not. That's the ability of the human mind. Once it can find geometrical patterns that are simple, that are complex in one reality, once it goes into a way more, when it goes into a simpler reality, that complexity becomes mastery. So when an advanced being goes into a lesser world, it's a master. When an advanced being goes into an advanced world, it's like a student kind of thing. So guys, that was the list, and now I'm just gonna like change the song and just, you know, get out of this reading mode. So let me see, what can I say here? After going through this list, it is very obvious to me that the curiosity of human beings has considered various metaphysical positions to reality. Metaphysics means what is coming after the physics. To the human being that considers itself physical, it's a matter of destiny. So metaphysics is the destiny of physics. Okay? Now, when I think about human consciousness, I think about the ability. Man, these songs are too much. Ever look for something on YouTube and you couldn't find it and you thought like maybe you should create it? So this is what I would say to you, dear viewers. You are present in a world that can be looked at from many ways, and you start off as an individual that has logged into consciousness from your own world. And this is the distinction between the idea of, again, perspective and perception. So once you step out of your own perception, you discover this vast unknown cosmos, and you realize there could be so many types of ways of looking at it. So then you become curious and you wonder, okay, so if there's infinite viewpoints, what viewpoint should I have? And then you become curious and you're like, let me see who I am. Let me see what is within myself. Let me just sit down for a moment, do nothing. Oh, somebody called this meditation. But let me just sit down and do nothing, have no plans, and try to watch what I am. What will be my findings? What will be that moment where I suddenly realize there is an existential opportunity for a greater experiential opportunity? Really, it is an ability for organisms to care for their future. When human beings care for their future, something remarkable happens. The past is like, yo, that's what we wanted. The present is like, that's what we wanted. And then we reach this point where we're like, what we always wanted was to collectively experience the greatness of our potential. Oh, whoever you are that's listening, life is way more than the infinite types of views we can have on it. What it really is a matter of noticing that you are existing. And that is a miracle. And it may not be a miracle that is meaningful, but it depends on the context you hold. There has been so many nights I've looked at the world and I was like, yo, what does this mean? What does that mean? And at some point I was like, what am I doing? Because when I treat myself as an individual and I try to understand the world individualistically, I am bound in an intellectual cage. What does that mean? That means the idea of me is correlating to the specific idea of the world, but the nature of the mind is not specific. How consciousness occurs for the human being, it's like, yo, my eyes are open. I am aware of the space that I am existing in. But why? What is this force that is looking out through my eyes? And does it surpass the language I give it, the story I give it, the past I give it, the future I give it? What it ultimately is where is your attention going? The greatest mental health is to rediscover where one's attention from their original state is arising from. What I'm trying to say to you, somebody in the chat section says, is it possible to forget infinity, to leave the loop. The idea is it's not a loop if there is a greater authority. It's kind of like somebody's like, yo, man, the store is closed. But imagine the lights of the store are on. And it's as if like we don't know, we can't trust anyone other than the owner of the shop that could potentially be in the store. So it's kind of like this attitude of, yo, is there a supreme transcendental presence in this world? The lights seem on. Some intelligent activity seems to have organized enough to notice itself. I was like, yo, when I really, my mind was introduced to the idea of evolution, it was grappling with this fact like, yo, are you telling me, after 4.5 billion years of evolution, right, of an evolutionary process, you know, it's like, it's like I became conscious so I can know that I'm gonna die and I'm temporary and there's pain and suffering. It's like, yo, did it take me 4.5 billion years to realize the incompleteness of reality, to notice its cycles, its loops, whatever, right? So at some point, your soul roars in a way that your inner realms shift. It is as possible as you are making the context of your life possible. For me, I ran after metaphysics in my own way, and I was humbled to realize there is a greater authority beyond my own search. So I've limited my communication on this planet for now towards anything that connects to the idea of dead man civilization. So it all comes back to the idea of like advancing civilization on Earth. My personal view is this. I realize that the mind has an ability to present a parallelism, a simultaneity between how it's a biological organism moving at a certain pace and how its attention when it closes its eyes is like a spotlight where ideas come and go. What you really are is the potential of energy at an intelligent station. So we are a life form that has managed to create like access Wi-Fi, right? Like that's like, it's like, imagine telling people about Wi-Fi in the past. Yo, man, you can access information all the time from your home. And the person's like, yo, you have homes in the future? And you look at the person who drove the time machine. It's like, yo, how far did you set this back? My attention goes to the greatest value. I realize it's not about being good or evil. It's not about being selfless or selfish. It's about at some point you're being. That means there's a way you're positioned in this space-time continuum. So when you wonder about how you're being, does it have to be what somebody else says? Could it be that could it be that you have been born in this world to meet your own new self for the first time, right? To discover your true nature. Like that's what the game was about, right? They're like, yo, we achieved success. We found the happy loop. What now? And beyond the happy loop, there should be constant. It's like the happy loop should be a general's tent. Strategies should be made for the future. The future must be honored and loved. Why? Because it is watching us right now. And some people are like, Mr. Within, how could the future watch us right now if it hasn't happened? Because the future could be beyond time and space. That means if it's beyond time, it could act, it's present and be any time. And technically, religions, monotheistic religion, is saying this idea that everything started from God and everything returns to God. It's kind of like the center of the infinity loop is God, is like the source of the infinity loop. You see, right now, this might be strange for you guys, but I realized just some part of me was so fascinated by how advanced the future of our species could be that I was like, yo, futurists are underrepresented. Let me see what other potential, let me add to the range of metaphysical possibilities about the nature of the world. So if somebody was like Mr. Within, what do you think is going on just at all? I would say I treat it like this when I wake up. Based on what kind of day I've had yesterday, like the day before, when I wake up, I have this attitude that I have entered a realm of activity. Then I ask myself, what is the reasoning behind why a consciousness should be active after logging into a conscious waking state? Because as it attempts its greatest vision, it begins to see how great it could have been at least. For me, there's this feeling that it's honestly, if somebody's like, Mr. Within, how do you have energy for these talks? Because I have found something so important, so much more important than just my life, that I don't see anything else greater to serve. It's as if they said all men serve, something, serve a truth. If they ask Mr. Within, what truth do you serve? I would say I serve a truth humbly that is beyond me. But that truth that is beyond me, in the tests and trials of the human life, the greatest effort can lead to a great outcome. Pretty much I was like, why aren't every person that we see behaving like an advanced being? And I realize it's a type of state of mind where the person, think of it this way, we have normal reality, boring, looping, agreed upon patterns and structures. And then above that, you know, we have stories, and above that, we have art. It's like what I'm trying to say, what is beyond art is beyond the human form's creative grasp. So if you are a beyondist, I consider myself as such an individual. I created the term beyondism, like the school of philosophy. What I'm trying to say is everything I see, because there is something beyond the world, then everything has a connection to that which is beyond it. So right now I'm saying, yo, this is a world, I'm on planet Earth. But in actuality, how the depths of my intelligence or presence, it's like it could be a multi-level presence, right? It could be that we're living multiple lives simultaneously. It could be like the yin and yang are in the same circle. It could be that the moment is an ultimate presence of truth, and within the ultimate presence of truth, eyes were closed to open again. So you see, nature of reality is a constant ability to notice. It's as if it's as if the biology had to loop, so the psychology could have something to make a distinction to, right? So it's as if, yo, man, I'm not just uh, um, um, it's like every day is kind of like a loop because we wake up and we go to sleep, but at the same time, in the from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, we treat it as a new day because really they're new variables. It's like you play a chess game, and after the first four moves, it's like how many different types of chess games can there be played? Do you know there's chess ways of playing chess that no one has ever seen? So, anyways, guys, there's so many metaphysical possibilities in the comment section. Write your metaphysical possibilities, I guess. Ultimately, where I'm going with this is that if you love truth, the truth of the world, you will also love what the truth of the world has created. To truly love creation means to honor the creator. And the creator, to honor the creator, is in some sense we're tasked with how advanced we can be in the presence of the most advanced. And all praise ultimately due to the source of it all. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. What does that mean? It's like truth is how the beyond knows what it's doing. There's so many ways to look at life. At some point, you're like, at least I'll do my own dance before I vanish. And that's the brilliance of it. It's after some point you're flying in a, it's like from the beginning of your birth, you've been alone with how your attention has had to move itself. But that's mastery, the constant training. And that's really what I expect from Mr. Within's research lab. I just thought, like, how cool would it be, at the end of the day, like there's a community of advanced researchers researching how advanced reality can be. I've realized that, think of it this way, that you were like, love is the answer. So what would that mean? That means you need to love the past. That means you need to accept the past. Give it its freedom. You need to love the present. You need to accept the present, but also give it its freedom. Its potential must be activated, right? And then you come to the future. And so really what's left is to love your future. And when you truly love your future, you honor your future. When you honor your future, you believe that it deserves greatness. I'm this human being who are like, yo, there's people who are mad scientists who I don't know what the hell they're doing. But there's people who are like advanced communicators being like, yo, man, we're 8 billion organisms on a rock spinning in the middle of nowhere. There's so many ways that the human mind is connecting to how the world really means. How do we interlink the life force? Like, how do 8 billion beings work on such a great project? It's as if, yo, do you want to work on this big project? And all the investors were like, I don't know, tell me about it. Yeah, so this project is advancing the whole system. I don't know, you give it a price, right? So the idea is, in some sense, that the advancement of civilization is priceless. So, anyways, do not forget, an advanced civilization is the future's birthright. Beyond a sort of structural eternal recurrence, we are the performers in this stage of the cosmos. And all that Mr. Within is saying, that the performance, let the performance of the human being be the greatest effort known in this universal sector. May it be heard by all in the presence of the greatest, humbly, respectfully. The human species attempts to succeed the tests and trials of man and the divine by asking itself what would the greatest outcome being, and march towards that. And the greatest outcome is actually disciplined freedom, which means that the loops of reality, which are our habits, they are just like patterns that have just come into engagement. And I guess they're just like they're just movements. They're kind of like programs that the person has downloaded. And smoking cigarettes, it's like you downloaded a virus. But the virus can also be removed, right? Ultimately, where I'm going with all of this, I'm like, yo, what kind of civilization does your species deserve? And the answer, the greatest answer, is the greatest one, or the most advanced. What does advancement mean? Advancement means what is the, at least if there are infinite ways of looking at something, what is the greatest one that we find for now? It's like before we reach advancement, the species is going to go through an advanced enough phase, but then it's going to even expand further than that. There's an honor missing. So the honor for going towards a great future in advanced civilization, children would be like, if you went and asked a child in advanced civilization, it's like, hey child, what do you want to be? And the child's like, it doesn't matter what I want to be, it's where I am that matters, and I want to be in the most advanced world. So in the honor of the advanced civilization, in the presence of the Almighty, in some sense, the forces of mankind reunite to a commonality of realizing that the creation is real, at least. So the biological design has a unifying factor. You might not believe it, but in the future, all laws are going to literally be redesigned in the context of naturalism. Why? Because the human mind is forgetting nature, and if it forgets nature too soon, it will actually leave itself into a simulation. So in some sense, reality has to mean something more than just experiencing it, or you might be trapped in a simulation if you want to just graduate from an infinite school of levels to a world. Right, so the idea should be that what is the most advanced approach? That most advanced approach is instantaneous advancement. Instantaneous advancement in the inner realms occurs often, but instantaneous advancement in the outer realms, it happens after, it's not, it's like the instantaneous advancement could happen if something chaotic is being turned off. But sometimes when you want to build something, and the more collective it becomes, it's as if Mr. Within's like this guy in history, like, yo, are we all ready to work on this giant global project, the greatest project known to mankind? You know, to build an advanced civilization together, to usher in an era of advanced ingenious innovation, right? That means it's as if it's like not only are we advancing in the inner realms, we are advancing in the outer realms, and our contribution will find itself in the honesty of walking in the world that we know. And as we meet the unknown, it is, I would say, one thing, one word that could really help human beings. It's like allow yourself to access information with an awareness of all the different ways that you can it can access it. So what that means is it's like I could think of a sort of like language, then I could think that mathematics is a language, and then I could think symbolism is the source of language. So then my attention goes that the symbol is trying to represent something real, and then from the symbol my attention goes to the reality, and then I think about what is ultimately real, and the individual reality is shaped, but the collective reality is not. So belong beyond your beliefs. It's the life of God. It's like the most beautiful state is the presence of being. The most advanced state is our being, is our nature. We are advanced beings. You know, it's like 8 billion human beings advancing civilization 1.0, which is what Mr.Within calls the current civilization, right? And then we have civilization 2.0, which is my vision of like the next advanced civilization that arises. And when it comes to the future, it's like there's a freedom to attempt to look through various views, right? The type of present modern culture we find ourselves in, it's literally like being in someone else's house. The rules are not set by you. That's kind of the cool why society feels like really cool, like when you step outside your house, because it's a space bound by laws of a collective intent. So the nature of the mind and where it's positioning, for me, I was like, okay, advancement in the outer realms, to build an advanced civilization, to care for the most advanced, to love the advancement of your species in the presence of the greatest living advancement. I used to say in these talks, rise mankind, rise. Little did I know, the true answer is remember how you never felt. Care for truth in such a way that you care for the world it has created. So many people say they love God, right? But then they get angry at their neighbor and they're like, buddy, you haven't understood. You know, if you don't have respect for the creation of the creator, you never had respect for the creator. Do you see what I'm saying? So to be a person that is close to the living truth of the nature of the world, it's like just the response in different levels. So it's like if there is a great potential, where like that great potential can be applied through all the various dimensions that the moment can be viewed through. So the findings, the deep findings in our perception can suddenly be kind of like, you know, represented and kind of like fractalized in all the other views we have. The mind is fascinating because it is tasked with creating worlds endlessly. Sometimes that Greek mythology story where the guy has to like push this rock to the top of this hill, and this like eagle eats his liver and the rock falls down, and he has to do this repetitively. It's kind of like what our consciousness is doing, simulating reality from the beginning of the day, and then like you turn the simulation, slowly gets turned off as you get tired. It's just like all that I'm saying is that the greatness of the world is it's the presence of it. You are present in the greatness of of the world, and really the greatness of the future depends on how much you care for, how much you can feel the future. As if all those people will be born in the future, they're watching you and they're like, yo man, what are you doing about this? So the human being needs to feel and honor that my species, the greatness of my species, is the greatness of my victory. To be in a world that, to be advanced in a world that's not advanced, is literally like boring. So the person has to advance the whole world, and then they'll be in an interesting world. So advancement from all perspectives is a winning argument. It's like who can say no to advancement, right? If the direction is proper, the advancement is justified, right? So as you wonder about what clarity means, listen to your heart that beats like the bird that flies beyond the branches of trees. You see, there is a truth that is the conceptual expression of one human mind to another, but then there is the presence. You are present in a very mighty world. And if this world was created, then you're in the presence of a very almighty creator. That means, yo, that person is not worshiping God as if God is an idea. That person is bowing down to the greatest power, the original power of nature. So religion is for those people who really want to go to the truth, to the, to want to enter the truth of being, want to find the true source of being. And that reality of it is, it's all here. The potential of our greatest future is here, and the possibility of different pasts is also here. So the vision of man is waiting for its own greatness. Thank you. And all praise due to the Lord of the worlds, the original source of reality, is a might beyond human fathoming. That means it's like there will come a moment where you will feel the presence of the whole cosmos to be conducted by an intelligent activity that surpasses your consideration of it. So you just stand honorably and honestly in the presence of the new force, the new awareness of the one and only force. Thank you for listening.